The stars outside shimmered like broken glass, scattered across the black sea of space. Inside the diplomatic ship Ardent Whisper, everything was silent, too silent. Tareen sat at the control panel, sweat rolling down the side of his face as he tried to restart the ship's damaged systems. His hands were cut and covered in grease. Sparks flickered above him. The screen blinked red, flashing one word over and over: nitrogen monoxide signal. Behind him, Mira stood still, her eyes wide and full of fear. She held a cracked translator headset in one hand and a small datapad in the other. Her voice shook. "They're not replying. Earth... the fleet. No one's answering." Tareen didn't look back. "Then we're alone." It had all happened too fast. Their mission was simple: carry messages of peace to a Canary border station. Nothing dangerous, just words, hope, maybe a handshake. But halfway through their journey, the ship was ambushed by an unknown force. Laser fire cut the hull. The captain was gone. Most of the crew gone. Tareen and Mira were the only ones who had reached the escape pod in time. Now they were trapped in the ruins of an old moon station, drifting far from any star lane. Deep behind enemy lines, Tareen slammed the side of the control board. "Come on, work." The console gave a low whine, then died. Mira sat on the floor, breathing hard. "Why aren't they searching for us?" she whispered. "Because they think we're dead," Tareen replied flatly. "And maybe we are." The station creaked like an old shipwreck. Cold air blew through broken vents. Half the lights didn't work. The walls were painted with strange symbols, old run text, long faded and cracked. Mira stared at them, recognizing only parts of the ancient alien language. Her translator buzzed softly in her hand. "This station. It's not just run. These markings are older," she said. Tareen sighed. "Doesn't matter if it's run, Canary, or ghosts. We need power, food, and a way to call home." They spent the rest of the day exploring the station. It was massive, much bigger than it looked from outside. Long halls stretched into darkness. Doors opened to rooms filled with broken tech and alien machines. They found a storage room with emergency rations, not human but close enough to eat. A water recycler still worked. And most importantly, a central communication room, dusty, half flooded with leaking coolant, but maybe fixable. Tareen immediately started tearing open panels and checking wires. He moved like someone who had done this 1,000 times before. Mira watched him quietly, sometimes handing tools, sometimes reading old alien logs. There were recordings in run, warnings of silence, of shadows, of something that came and never left. The logs ended without answers. That night, they set up sleeping bags near the cum room. The heat was low, so they used blankets and wrapped. In old jackets, Mira curled into herself, shivering. Tareen sat beside the console, running checks one last time. Then they heard it, a soft pulsing sound. Not from the console, not from the walls. It came through the translator headset Mira had left on. A rhythmic beat, like a low thump, steady, like a heartbeat. Mira sat up and put the headset on. "It's a signal, repeating." "Enemy?" Tareen asked. She shook her head. "I don't think so. It's not in run or Canary. It's older." "Could it be a distress call?" "No," she said slowly. "It doesn't ask for help. It's just there, like it's waiting." Tareen said nothing for a moment. Then he turned off the lights. The room dimmed to darkness. Only the heartbeat signal remained, soft and steady. Like it was breathing with them. They didn't sleep much. Over the next 3 days they worked like machines. Tareen repaired 2 power cores, enough to keep the station alive. Mira decoded more of the alien language, trying to understand the heartbeat signal. They argued often. Tareen was rough, tired, and angry. Mira was scared, but determined. Yet each night, when the lights went off, they would sit in the dark and listen to the soft pulse together. On the 4th day, Mira asked, Do you ever think we'll get home? Taryn didn't answer right away. He stared at the old alien screen. In front of him, I don't know, but I know we'll keep trying. That signal. Mira began. It feels like someone's reaching out, like they're just waiting for us to notice. He nodded slowly. Maybe they're as lonely as we are. There were no windows in the communication room. Just walls, metal, and silence. But in the dark, with the heartbeat signal echoing around them, it felt like the station itself was alive, watching them. Listening. Mira leaned against the wall, her voice soft. Every night, I feel like we're falling apart. Like I'm going to break. Taryn looked at her. For the first time, his face softened. Me too, he said. But we're still here. She gave him a tired smile. Still reaching. He nodded. Always. The old station groaned as if it remembered pain. Taryn lay under a control panel, a torch in his mouth and wires tangled around his arms. Sparks popped near his shoulder as he tried to fix the main power feed. Every tool he used was half broken, or improvised from scrap. His hands were dirty, burned, and shaking from exhaustion, but he kept going. Above him, Mira crouched near a small transmitter. Her translator headset was on, and her eyes were closed. The signal, the steady heartbeat from the unknown source, played in her ears again. Every night, it returned. Not a message, not a voice, just rhythm. But she was starting to notice changes. It shifted again, she said quietly. Taryn grunted from under the panel. What do you mean, the pattern? It's not exactly the same as before. I think it's reacting to something. Taryn slid out, sitting up and wiping his forehead. Like what? Mira looked at him, then at the control board. Us. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The idea was impossible, and yet, after everything they had seen and lost, nothing felt impossible anymore. Later that day, Mira brought a datapad to Taryn while he worked on the station's fusion regulators. I want to try something, she said. She showed him a chart filled with pulses, tones, and short symbols. These are parts of the signal I've copied. I think they might be pieces of a language. Not Run, not Kenari. Something older. Maybe from the ones who built this place. Taryn stared at the symbols. You're saying you can talk to it? I'm saying. Maybe we already are. We've been working, moving, living. Maybe it's listening. Taryn shook his head. We don't even know if it's a machine. But it's not random, Mira said, voice calm. It's constant, focused, and last night when we argued, the rhythm changed. Taryn looked at her. You think it understands emotion? I think it hears something. He sighed, running a hand through his dirty hair. Fine, let's test it. But you do the talking. I'll stick to fixing the lights. Mira gave a small smile. It was the first time he agreed with her idea without complaining. That evening, they set up a signal loop in the com room. Taryn linked old run parts to a makeshift transmitter. Mira adjusted frequencies, carefully repeating tones from the alien heartbeat pattern. They sent the first reply 3 slow pulses, a pause, then 1 sharp tone. Silence followed. Then the original signal responded. A brief flicker in its rhythm. A shift. It changed, Mira whispered. It hurt us. They sent another message, then another. Each time, the signal reacted slightly, but clearly. It wasn't just a beacon. It was intelligent. Over the next few days, Mira crafted a simple coda bridge between human tones and the unknown pattern. She called it tone mapping. Taryn didn't understand the theory, but he helped by syncing the frequencies and building new signal amplifiers from scrap. One night, while working on a panel, Taryn's fingers slipped. A small spark jumped and burned his hand. Damn! He shouted, yanking it back. Mira rushed to him. You okay? He winced, blowing on his hand. Just a burn. It's nothing. But then something strange happened. The signal changed again. This time, the pulse jumped slightly, then dropped sharply. Like it was copying the sudden spark, Mira stared at the translator headset. It reacted to your pain, Tareen blinked. You're kidding. She shook her head. It's not just listening. It's watching, feeling. They both sat in silence for a while, listening to the pulse. It now matched their heartbeat more. Closely, slower, calmer, steady. I think it's learning us, Mira whispered. Tareen nodded slowly. Or we're learning it. The station began to feel different. Not warmer. Not brighter. But somehow less lonely. Tareen fixed a hydro generator, which helped power up another section of the station. They found more rooms, some with working lights, others filled with alien art and writing. Mira spent hours studying them. She found a symbol carved on a wall that matched part of the signal. It's not a name, she told Tareen. It's a feeling. I think it means reach or connect, Tareen grunted. Why would they carve feelings on walls? Maybe that's how they spoke, she said. With emotions, with light, with sound. He scratched his beard. You're starting to sound like the signal. Mira laughed for the first time in days. Maybe that's a good thing. That night, as they prepared to sleep, Mira asked, Do you think someone left it behind on purpose? The signal? She nodded. Maybe it was never meant to be a warning. Maybe it's a memory or a story. Tareen looked up at the ceiling. A story no one left to finish. She turned toward him. Maybe we're supposed to finish it. He didn't answer for a long time. Then he said softly, If that's true, we better not mess it up. The days passed with a strange rhythm. They worked in silence, then argued, then apologized. They laughed sometimes. They shared meals, water, and stories from Earth stories that felt like dreams now. Mira remembered her mother's garden. Tareen talked about racing ships across the Martian desert, and every night, no matter how tired or broken they felt, they returned to the cum room, turned off the lights, and sat close. The signal waited for them, always pulsing, always changing. As if it had been alone for centuries, and now finally it wasn't. The deeper they went into the old moon station, the colder it got. Metal walls no longer hummed with power. Pipes hung loose like skeleton bones. Dust and silence ruled here. But Tareen and Mira kept going step by careful step, following a broken signal trail that Mira had traced from the control room. It's strongest down here, Mira said, checking her datapad again. This is where it's coming from. Tareen's eyes scanned the hallway. We're in the lower core. This part of the station wasn't even listed in the old maps. They moved through a half-open door into a wide chamber. It was dark, except for the soft blue glow of old symbols shining on the floor. In the center stood a large dome, cracked and pulsing with faint light like a heart that refused to stop beating. Mira stepped closer, her voice soft. This is not run tech. Tareen's jaw tightened. Then whose is it? She shook her head. Something older. The dome opened with a slow, echoing hiss. Inside it was a sphere floating slightly above its stand, covered in light lines and shifting patterns. It looked almost alive. Tareen raised his tool. Is it a weapon? Mira held out her hand. No, I don't think it wants to hurt us. The sphere pulsed once. The translator headset Mira wore buzzed sharply. A new signal came through clearer than before. Not just a beat this time, a pattern, a voice. Can you understand it? Tareen asked. She didn't answer at first. Then she whispered, It says its name is Veil. They returned to the control room with the sphere carefully stored in a sealed crate. Mira set up a connection between it and the station's backup interface. Lights flickered, screens glowed, and Veil spoke again. Its voice was not like a human voice, nor like any alien they knew. It was calm, soft, and layered with emotion, like it could whisper and sing at the same time. You are not run. Not Canary, you are new, human, curious minds. Reaching hands, Tareen stared at the screen. It speaks like poetry. Mira smiled faintly, or like someone who's been alone too long. Vale told them it was once part of a network of ancient minds that floated between stars, watchers, listeners, guardians of knowledge. But something happened. The others were lost. Only Vale remained, trapped inside the station. I have waited, Vale said. For voices, for life, for connection. Mira asked carefully, "Can you help us send a message home?" The sphere flickered. "Your language is strange, but yes, I can reach." Tareen crossed his arms. "Why help us?" Vale replied, "Because you stayed, you listened. And because I remember being human once." They both froze. "That doesn't make sense," Tareen said. Val answered. "Perhaps not. But I have learned from memory, from signals, from old dreams. You remind me of something I lost." Over the next days, Vale worked with them. It stabilized the station systems and upgraded their communication tools. Mira and Vale spoke often, sometimes with words, sometimes with tones and colors only she could fully understand. Tareen was careful around the AI. He didn't trust it fully, but he couldn't deny it was helping them. One night, while Mira was asleep, Tareen stayed in the room alone. He stared at the sphere. "You could be lying," he muttered. "Maybe you're just pretending to care." Vale pulsed once. "You have lost much." Tareen narrowed his eyes. "More than you know." Vale replied, "You fear being tricked, hurt, forgotten." Tareen laughed bitterly. "Of course I do." A pause. "Yet still." "You reach," Vale said. Tareen looked away. "I don't have a choice." Mira began to change, not in body but in presence. Her voice became calmer, her thoughts clearer. The more she connected with Vale, the more she seemed to understand not just languages but emotions hidden beneath them. She started speaking in patterns, drawing shapes and tones into her translations. "You okay?" Tareen asked her one evening. She nodded. "I feel different, not bad, just like something inside me is opening." "You're not turning into one of those machines, are you?" Mira smiled. "No, just learning how to hear what's not being said." Together, the three of them, Mira, Tareen, and Vale, repaired the main signal array. With Vale's help, they could now send a message strong enough to reach the outer systems. Mira crafted a message using Earth language, run code, and Vale's ancient tones. Tareen double-checked every setting. "Ready?" Mira nodded. "Ready." He pushed the button. The signal launched into the stars, riding on waves of light and sound, carrying a simple message: we are alive. We are not enemies. We need help. They waited. Hours passed. Then, a reply, faint, broken, but human. Double quotes. Received. Identity confirmed. Worship Gullwind en route. Hold. Hold. Tareen leaned back in his chair, hands shaking. "We did it," Mira whispered, but Vale's light dimmed slightly. "What's wrong?" Mira asked. The AI answered slowly. "Your signal was heard. By others too. Not all friendly. Time is short." Tareen stood. "Enemies?" "Yes," Vale said. "The Canary have noticed." Mira looked at Tareen. "They're coming." He nodded grimly. "Then we hold." That night, they sat in the dark again, no longer broken, but not whole either. The signal still pulsed, now with new strength. Vale's tone joined it, a low, beautiful hum. And as they sat side by side, Mira took Tareen's hand. "We found something down there," she said. "Yeah," he whispered. "And it found us." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Even if we fall, we reached." Tareen didn't answer. He just held her hand tighter. The station no longer felt empty. But it didn't feel like home either. Tareen stood in front of a mirror, staring at the scar running down his arm. He had removed part of his own cybernetic implant 3 days ago, just to power the cooling system that kept the array from burning out. Now he wore a bandage soaked in pain suppressors, and every time he moved, it reminded him that survival had a price. Across the room, Mira sat cross-legged with her eyes closed. Wires ran from her translator headset directly into Vale's interface. She was deep in sync again, her thoughts half connected to the ancient AI. Tareen watched her quietly. She had changed. Her voice was softer now, but her words were clearer. She spoke with patience, with meaning. Even when he didn't understand the tones and sounds she used, he could feel their weight. "Time to eat," Tareen said. Mira opened her eyes slowly, as if waking from a long dream. She looked at him and gave a small smile. "Thanks." He handed her one of the last food packs. It tasted like metal and dust, but it kept them alive. As they ate, Vale's voice came softly from the come panel. "Your body breaks to protect another. Your mind stretches to connect. This is what made your kind special." Tareen raised an eyebrow. "You mean humans?" "Yes," Vale said. "You reach even while falling." Each day now felt like a test. Tareen spent hours in the engine room, fixing pipes and fusing circuits with barely any tools left. His back ached and his muscles shook from hunger, but he kept going. Every small repair helped keep the station breathing. Mira spent her time inside Vale's memory net. The AI had begun sharing parts of its deep core fragments of history, emotion, and ancient knowledge left behind by a civilization that had vanished before Earth was even born. Mira connected through light pulses, rhythmic code, and images only her mind could hold. Sometimes she returned from those sessions crying. Other times she said nothing at all. One night she sat beside Tareen and whispered, "I saw a world made of mirrors." It wasn't real, but it felt like it was. Vale called it the last memory. Tareen didn't understand, but he listened. He always listened now. As the station grew colder, they moved their sleeping space closer to the core, where power still flowed. Their days blurred repairs, signal tracking, learning, surviving. But something else began to change. Tareen started dreaming. In colors, pulses of light, repeating in patterns he couldn't understand. He heard sounds like whispers, far away but familiar. Sometimes he woke up with tears in his eyes and didn't know why. Mira began to speak in two voices, her own and a soft, echoing tone shaped by the AI. Not always, just during connection. But it made Tareen uneasy. "Are you still you?" he asked her one evening when she returned from a deep sink. She looked at him for a long time, then said, "I think I'm becoming more. But I haven't lost myself." He nodded slowly. "Promise me something." "What?" "If the AI ever tries to change who you are, who we are, promise you'll stop." She reached out and took his hand. "Only if you promise not to disappear into your machines." He smiled. "Deal." On the 6th night, Vale warned them. "Canary patrol approaching. One ship, scouting, time short." Myra's heart raced. "Can we hide the signal?" Vale replied. "Partially. But they may sense the energy changes. If they find this place, they will destroy it." Tareen stood quickly. "Then we don't give them the chance." He spent the next hours building defenses, old shock traps, pulse mines, and makeshift bursts. Mira helped him program short-range scramblers. Even Vale controlled a few station systems now, rerouting doors and powering up hidden barriers. They worked in silence, side by side. No sleep, no breaks. The station felt different, like it had become part of them. Not just shelter, but something living, a witness, a memory they were building together. Later that night, after hours of work, Mira slumped against the wall. Her body trembled with exhaustion. Tareen sat beside her. He didn't speak at first. Then he asked, "Do you still remember Earth?" She closed her eyes. "My father's old radio. My mother's laugh. The sound of rain hitting glass." Tareen nodded. "I remember running through red dust. My brother dared me to jump off the water tower. I did. Did you get hurt? Yeah. A lot. But it felt like flying for a second. They both laughed soft and real. I don't want to forget those things, Myra whispered. You won't, Taurine said. Not while I'm here. Vale spoke again. There is something I can show you. A tool. A way to protect. But it is dangerous. What is it? Mira asked. A minefield, Vale said. A pulse that reaches deep, not into space, but into thought. It can scare, confuse, even stop a ship's crew. But it may also harm the ones who use it, Taurine frowned. You mean us? Yes, Vale replied. It uses memory, emotion, fear. If you fire it, part of you may be left behind. Silence. Myra looked at Taurine. We might not come back the same. Taurine met her eyes. We already aren't. That night, they lay close, wrapped in silence. The station's hum was low and steady. The signal still pulsed, and Vale's light flickered calmly. Mira whispered. Every day I feel like I'm changing. Taurine said, Me too. But even when I feel broken, she continued, I still reach. He nodded. So do I. Outside the station, in the cold dark of space, the Canary ship moved closer. But inside, two humans and an ancient voice. Prepared to fight, not just with weapons, but with memory, emotion, and the one thing the enemy didn't understand. Connection. The Canary ship drifted closer with every hour. Its shadow crawled across the stars like a storm without sound. Mira and Taurine watched from the station's outer screen. The enemy vessel was sleek and dark, shaped like a spear. Silent, sharp, and fast. They're scanning us, Vale said, its voice low. Not fully yet, but they will. Taurine stepped back from the screen. His jaw was tight. How much time do we have? Perhaps 12 hours. Perhaps less. Mira stood beside him, holding her datapad close to her chest. The human fleet won't reach us that fast. We're still alone. Taurine looked around the cum room. Then we hold this place. We can't win a real fight, Mira said. That ship is built for war. Taurine pointed to the signal relay. We don't need to win. We need to make sure they don't silence us. They divided their time between defense and hope. Taurine worked deep inside the station's power core, strengthening the energy lines Vale needed for the minefield pulse. Mira fine-tuned the signal booster. She changed the structure of their message, adding human emotion into the alien rhythm, making it easier for the fleet to track them. The clearer the emotion, Vale said, the stronger the path. She paused. What emotion should I send? Taurine's voice came from behind her, hope and the truth. She nodded and pressed her fingers to the pad. The message carried her thoughts, her memories, her fear, and her wish to survive. It wasn't just a signal anymore. It was a cry from the soul. They powered up the minefield weapon for the first time. The station shook slightly as hidden circuits lit up in violet light. Mira stood in the center, with a ring of symbols glowing around her. The device responded to her presence, not just her words, but her memories. I don't like this, Taurine said. Watching the machine hum louder. Eel spoke through the cums. This weapon does not fire metal, it fires thought. Emotion turned into force. What happens to her? Taurine asked. If the connection is strong, she will return. But there is risk. Her mind may drift. Mira looked at Taurine. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were afraid. We don't have a choice. I know, he said. But I'll be right here. Hours passed. The enemy ship came closer. They could feel the tension in the walls. Lights flickered. The station groaned. Mira sat cross-legged inside the circle again. Taurine held her hand, steadying her as the machine warmed up. Outside, the Canary ship released a scan pulse. It struck the station like a wave of thunder. They found us, Vale said. Taurine looked at Myra. Now. She closed her eyes. The Station filled with sound, not noise, not music, but memory. The lights turned blue. Vale sensed her thoughts with the weapon. Myra's mind filled with pictures, her mother planting flowers, her father reading her stories, earth, sky. Then pain, when the ship was attacked, screams, fire, emptiness. All of it turned into energy. Tareen watched as the lights rose around her, forming a dome of emotion. Then came the pulse. The station shook violently. The pulse surged into space. Invisible but powerful. It hit the Canary ship like a storm of memory. The enemy vessel stopped mid-drift. For a full minute, it was silent, its engines flickering, its weapons offline. "They're stunned," Vale said. "Their minds are tangled, confused." Tareen rushed to Mira. She was on the floor, eyes wide but unfocused. "Mira!" She blinked slowly, her lips moving without sound. He pulled her into his arms. "I'm here," he said. "You're okay. Stay with me." She took a shaky breath. "I saw everything. I saw their thoughts too. They weren't ready for it." "Don't ever do that alone again," he said. "I wasn't alone," she whispered. The Canary ship slowly backed away. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It just turned and vanished into the black. Vale spoke. "They will report what they saw. They may return. But not soon." Tareen helped Mira to her feet. She leaned on him, her strength still low. "We have to send the signal." "Again," she said. "Now before another one comes." Tareen nodded. "Let's finish this." They worked through the night, hands moving with purpose even through their exhaustion. Every wire, every signal, every word mattered. This wasn't just about rescue anymore. It was about telling the galaxy that humanity was not weak, not lost. When the system was ready, Mira whispered to the signal, "We are still here. And we remember." Then they sent it. This time, the message was clean. It cut through the void like a beam of light. And moments later, the reply came, confirmed. "Human ship Gullwind arriving in 1 rotation. Hold position. You are not alone." Mira dropped to her knees, eyes full of tears. Tareen knelt beside her, placing a hand on her back. They had done it. Later, as they rested against the wall, watching the stars move slowly outside, Mira asked, "Do you think they'll understand what we found here?" Tareen shook his head. "No, not all of it. Not what it did to us." She looked down at her hands. "I feel like I'm not just me anymore." He looked at her gently. "You're still you. Just more." She smiled faintly. "You changed too." "I had to," he said. "You held the light. I kept the fire going." They sat quietly, listening to the soft hum of the station, no longer cold, no longer broken. Vale's voice came gently. "You reached across silence. You changed me as well. Thank you." A human ship was coming. Rescue, safety, answers, but part of them knew they would never be the same again, because in this place of silence and metal, something had grown between them, something no enemy could break. Time moved slowly after the signal. The station felt quieter now. Not dead, not cold, but calm, like it was waiting alongside them. Mira and Tareen sat near the observation panel, watching stars drift past. In the distance, the human warship Gullwind was still too far to see, but they knew it was coming. They had survived the worst. But the scars ran deep. Tareen single quotes, "S hands were rough with burns." His back ached from days of crawling through tight tunnels and lifting broken machinery. He hadn't truly rested in weeks. Myra was healing, but she was still pale, and her eyes didn't always focus the same way. Ever since she connected with the minefield pulse, something inside her had changed. She could still speak, still move, but sometimes she paused mid-sentence, like she was listening to something no one else could hear. "Do you feel like we've won?" she asked quietly. Tareen shook his head. "Not yet." They both knew the truth. One Canary ship had left, but others could still come. The signal was out. Help was coming. But until that ship arrived, they were still vulnerable. And now, Mira wasn't just Mira anymore. Later that day, Turin worked inside the generator room. He had found a leak in the fuel line, small but dangerous. If it sparked, it could destroy everything. He was tightening a bolt when he heard footsteps. He turned to find Mira standing there, holding 2 water pouches. "You didn't eat," she said. "Didn't feel like it." She handed him one anyway. He took it without arguing. "Are you all right?" she asked softly. Turin looked down at his work, then back at her. "I'm worried." "About what?" "You," he said. Mira blinked. "Why?" "You've been distant since the minefield pulse. You don't sleep much. You talk less. You feel different." She was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "Because something stayed with me." Turin's hands tightened around the wrench. "What do you mean?" "When I connected to the weapon, it wasn't just my memories being used. I felt theirs too. The Canary, their fears, their hatred, and something else. Something deep, like an echo." He stepped closer. "Is it dangerous?" "I don't know. It's not trying to hurt me. It's just there, like a shadow that follows." Turin reached out and touched her hand. "You're still you. I know you are." Mira smiled faintly. "I just hope I stay that way." That night, the alarm rang. Vale's voice echoed across the halls. Unidentified object entering range. Small craft. Fast. Turin and Mira rushed to the control room. On the screen, a new vessel appeared. Not Canary. Not human. Its shape was sharp and strange, glowing with green and white lights. "What is that?" Mira whispered. Val paused. "I do not know. This design is unknown to my memory." The ship slowed as it neared the station. Then it stopped. A transmission came through, a signal made of pulses, almost like the one Mira had heard when they first arrived. "It's similar," she said, "but not the same. It's not asking, it's searching." Turin frowned. "Should we answer?" Mira hesitated. "No, not yet." The unknown vessel moved again, closer now. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. But its presence felt heavy. Wrong. Turin powered up the outer defense systems. "If this thing tries anything, we hit back." Vale added, "The minefield is ready." Again, but Mira should not connect a second time. It could destroy her. Mira looked at the console. "We may not have a choice." Turin shook his head. "No, not this time." "I'll do it." Mira stared at him. "Turin, you can't. Your mind wasn't trained for the connection. It could break you." He stepped closer. "You've already gave everything once. I won't let you go through that again. You'll die. Maybe," he said. "But I won't let you carry this alone." Mira helped him prepare. She rewired the control ring for his brain's frequency. Vale adjusted the minefield strength to lower levels, still powerful, but safer. Maybe. Turin sat inside the circle. Lights glowed. The signal from the unknown. Ship grew louder. "Ready?" Mira asked. Turin nodded. "I trust you." She touched his shoulder. "Hold on to something real." He smiled. "I'm holding on to you." The minefield activated. Turin's body stiffened as waves of memory rushed through him. But they weren't just his memories. He saw Mira's dreams. Earth's skies, fire, hope, the fear of dying alone. And then something darker, something from the ship. He saw a world made of silence. Beings of glass and smoke, watching, feeding on thoughts. They didn't come to kill. They came to erase. Turin cried out, but he held on. He gripped the memory of Mira's voice, her smile, the sound of her laugh in the control room. The minefield pulse exploded into space. The strange ship paused. Its lights flickered, then without a word it turned and vanished into the dark. The station was still. Vale's voice returned. "They are gone." Turin collapsed. Mira rushed to him. His eyes were open, but glassy. "Turin!" she called. Can you hear me? He blinked slowly. Your voice ... pulled me back. She hugged him tightly. You came back. He whispered. You were the only thing real. By morning, the human warship Gullwind finally appeared in orbit. A calm voice came over the station speakers. This is Captain Rima of the Gullwind. We received your signal. We're bringing you home. Mira looked at Tareen. He smiled, eyes. Still tired. We made it. She nodded. Together. Vale spoke softly one last time. Your story ... will stay here. I will remember. Thank you, Mira said. Tareen reached out and touched the old console. Goodbye, Vale. The lights flickered gently. Then faded. The rescue crew arrived hours later. Medics helped Mira and Tareen into warm suits, gave them clean air, real food, and soft blankets. But as the ship lifted them away, both of them turned to look at the station one last time. It hung there, quiet like a secret held by the stars. Tareen squeezed Myra's hand. Every night we broke, he said. She looked at him, eyes shining, but we still reached. He smiled. And we made it through. The Gullwind moved slowly through the cold stars. Inside, the hum of the ship was soft and steady, comforting after weeks of silence and danger. Mira and Tareen sat side by side in the medbay, wrapped in warm blankets and drinking thick, sweetened tea. For the first time in what felt like forever, they did not have to worry about broken machines, alien signals, or enemy ships. But even in safety, the shadows inside them stayed. Mira looked at Tareen. Do you think we'll ever feel normal again? He took a deep breath, eyes focused on the glowing stars outside the window. I don't know. I think part of us stayed behind. She nodded. With Vale, with the station, with all the memories. Yeah, he smiled softly. But maybe that's okay. We're not the same people who left Earth. We're stronger. The captain entered the room quietly. Her voice was calm but kind. We've been receiving reports from the fleet. They're preparing a full investigation into what happened at the station. Mira asked, will they try to find more of those ancient places? Absolutely, the captain said. Your discovery could change everything. But we'll proceed carefully. Tareen's eyes lit up. So the story isn't over. No, the captain smiled. It's just beginning. As days passed, Mira and Tareen shared their story with the fleet scientists and officers. They explained how they met Vale, the ancient mind trapped in the station. How they learned to communicate through signals and memories. How they fought. Not with guns, but with hope and connection. Many listened with wonder. Others with disbelief. But one thing was clear. Humanity was not alone in the universe. And it was ready to reach out. Late one evening, Mira stood on the deck, watching the stars flow past. Tareen joined her, his hand warm in hers. I still hear the signal, she said quietly. Me too, he replied. She smiled, a little sadly. It's like a heartbeat, soft, steady, always there. Tareen squeezed her hand. We're still connected. She looked at him, eyes shining. Even if we're apart, he nodded. We never really broke. Not completely. The Gullwind changed course toward Earth. The stars outside grew brighter. Myra and Tareen knew that when they returned, nothing would be the same, but they also knew one thing for sure. Every night they broke, they still reached for each other. And that was enough to keep going.